a stranger in the South, my decade of heartache and hope. Man, I never thought I'd be pouring my heart out like this, but after a decade in the South, feeling like I'm stranded on some alien planet in my own damn country, it's time to let it all spill. I'm John, born and raised in the gritty, fast talking streets of Brooklyn and Queens, New York, where life's a hustle and people don't bother with fake smiles or sugar coated bullshit. You know exactly where you stand. If someone doesn't like you, they'll look you in the eye, maybe toss a go fuck yourself your way, and you move on, no hard feelings. That raw, in your face honesty shaped me, toughened me up, made me who I am. But then 9/11 hit like a sledgehammer, and I was close enough to feel the ground shake, to choke on the dust, to hear the screams that still echo in my nightmares. It broke something in me, left me with PTSD that creeps up like a thief, night sweats, heart racing like it's trying to escape my chest, constant hum of anxiety that never quite shuts off. I had to get out of my father's house, away from his suffocating grip. He was a narcissist, a sociopath who lived for control, always needing to be the top dog, the one who's right about everything. I was the family scapegoat, the anxious kid, the depressed one, my ideas, whether about politics, religion, or just life, tossed aside like garbage. Growing up in that house where my voice was silenced and my worth was measured by how much I fed his ego was like living in a psychological cage. As Carl Rogers might put it, without that unconditional positive regard, that basic acceptance of who you are, your sense of self gets twisted and you start believing you're less than you are. My dad kept me hooked on his narcissistic supply, just enough crumbs of approval to keep me dependent, never enough to let me stand tall. Breaking free was like clawing my way out of quicksand, and it cost me more than I can ever explain. So I packed up and moved with my family to Honesdale, Pennsylvania, this tiny speck of a town in the northeast, all quiet hills and sparse population. Everyone warned me about small towns, how they chew up outsiders and spit them out, but Honesdale was a surprise, a warm embrace I didn't expect. I fit in, no questions asked. I dated a few women, even got engaged to Ashley, my first real shot at love, though it fell apart, probably for the best, since I was still carrying all that baggage from my dad's house, and we might have crashed and burned in divorce. In PA, nobody cared about my New York accent. No one threw Yankee at me like a slur or gave me those cold, judging looks. I'd drive down to Scranton, hit up Center Fields Bar for Friday night karaoke, belt out some tunes with the locals, and laugh until my sides ached. Those nights, those connections made me feel alive, seen like I belonged somewhere. Back in New York, post 9/11, we were all just trying to hold it together, but we didn't point fingers at Southerners or anyone else. We were all Americans, all human, just trying to survive. Sure, you'd see some favoritism in job, but it wasn't this soul-crushing wall I'd hit later. Then, about 10 years ago, I moved to the South, chasing something stable, maybe a slower pace to heal from the chaos of 9/11 and my dad's toxicity. What a fucking pipe dream that was. Instead, I've run headfirst into prejudice, racism, favoritism, and nepotism, so thick it feels like I'm drowning in it. It's not the loud in your face kind, not like the gut wrenching stories of black folks in the old South, which make my blood boil just thinking about what they endured. For me, an Italian New Yorker, it's quieter, sneakier, like a knife you don't see coming until it's in your back. My ancestors came over in the 1900s, olive skinned Mediterraneans with roots tied to history. Think Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, Cleopatra, Egypt supplying grain to the Roman Empire. Italians weren't always white in America's eyes. We were deviants, lynched in the South, treated as less than. Down here, I don't fit, not white enough for some, not blending with any other group either. The second they hear my accent, catch that New York edge, it's like a switch flips, and I'm done. It's racism, plain and simple, just wrapped in regional pride or whatever they call it. Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs lays it bare. You need safety and belonging before you can climb to anything higher, like self esteem or self actualization. Without that foundation, you're stuck, scraping for scraps of acceptance. And that's where I've been for a decade, trapped at the bottom, fighting to be seen as human. Trying to find a job down here is like screaming into a void. I've got a 4 year degree in economics and philosophy, not some throwaway credential. I've been working since I was 11, hauling a paper route with 70 customers, dragging myself out of bed at 5 a.m. in New York's brutal winters to get those papers delivered before school. I worked retail, grocery, drugstores, even ran my own UPS store franchise, pouring my heart into it. But after 9/11, PTSD knocked me flat. I went on disability wrestling with OCD ADHD, and the depression and anxiety that tag along like unwanted shadows. Those gaps in my resume, they're not laziness, they're survival. Battles fought in private to keep my head above water. But down here, those applications might as well be confetti. I've applied to Y12 base, TVA, places where my background in electric operations should open doors. Nothing. Interviews go nowhere like they're just humoring me. It's all about who you know. Nepotism runs this place like a mafia. Locals hire their cousins, their church buddies, their neighbors' kids. If you're not in that circle, you're invisible. Vocational rehab, unemployment offices, city workers, they're supposed to throw you a lifeline, but half the time it feels like they're just clocking in, doing the bare minimum, and you slip through the cracks like you were never there. B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning explains it perfectly. The environment rewards insiders with jobs, connections, a pat on the back, while outsiders like me get punished with silence, rejection after rejection, until you're conditioned to expect nothing but failure. The social scene is even worse, if you can believe it. Southern hospitality is a lie, a polished act that crumbles the second you're out of sight. People flash big smiles, invite you to Bible study, pat you on the back like you're their long lost friend. But it's not real, it's patronizing, like you're some project they're taking on for extra heaven points. You show up single to a family barbecue, surrounded by couples and kids, and you're the odd one out, a second class citizen in their eyes. Mention your anxiety, your struggles, and you see it, that flicker of judgment, like you're defective. Equal opportunity for people with disabilities. That's a cruel joke. Those resume gaps make them assume you're unstable, and they'd rather bet on someone secure. I've tried so many churches, hopping from one to another, hoping for a real community, but it's always the same. Bible studies feel like lectures, with them playing teacher and me, the clueless student. They're surrounded by their families, their perfect lives, and it never crosses their minds that I'm dying for what they have: a partner, kids, a sense of wholeness. They'll quote Paul, say singleness is a calling, but come on, most people aren't built for celibacy, and it's not their place to decide that's my lot in life. Christians should be stepping up, helping with jobs, introducing you to someone who might be a match, anything. Instead, I get nothing. 10 years in the South and not one real date, not one solid chance at love. When you're unemployed or scraping by, your confidence takes a nosedive. Who's going to want the guy who's barely holding it together? I still ask girls out, but the opportunities are like ghosts, slipping away before I can grab them. Nights alone in my apartment, I fall apart, crying until my eyes burn, screaming at God. Why no job? Why no woman who gets me, who I can watch movies with, argue about politics, face the world with? We're not meant to live like this, isolated, cut off. Carl Jung's idea of the shadow hits me hard, the loneliness I've shoved down, the parts of myself I've hidden to fit in. The South drags that shadow into the light, forces me to face rejection head on, and Jung's whole individuation thing, becoming your true self, feels like a cruel tease when society keeps slamming the door in your face. It's systemic, this exclusion, and it's sneaky. Nobody says, I hate you outright. They smile, then whisper behind your back, leave you out of the group chat, the barbecue, the job opening. I'd kill for New York's bluntness, know your enemies, part ways fast, move on. Here it's passive aggressive warfare, slow and soul crushing. When I first got called Yankee, I laughed it off, didn't want to start fights. But then the invitations dry up, and you realize you're not equal in their eyes. As an Italian, the ethnic bias deep. History shows Italians were outsiders here, targeted, despised. Young's collective unconscious nails it. Societies project their fears onto the other, and I'm that other, the deviant who doesn't fit their mold. Skinner's take is just as sharp. Prejudice is learned, reinforced when communities reward sticking to us and shunning them. This decade has torn me apart mentally, worn me down to the bone. 10 years of rejection erodes your soul, makes you question everything: your worth, your place, your fate. I can't afford to leave, but I want to stay, build a life, find someone to share it with, not just for money, but for spiritual, mental, physical support. In tough times, you need that alignment, mind, body, spirit, to keep going. Couples who make it shut out the noise from friends, in laws, and stand together. But loneliness feeds doubt. I blame myself, the South's clannishness, even God. Maslow's hierarchy haunts me. Without belonging, esteem collapses, and I'm left feeling like I'm nothing. Roger's idea of congruence, being your authentic self, is impossible when your accent, your pain, just to avoid more judgment. Zoom out, and the world's a mess, economic collapse on the horizon. whispers of World War III. These north-south, insider-outsider divides are so damn petty in the grand scheme. As Americans, as Christians, we're called to love God, love our neighbor, even our enemies. I'm forgiving, always ready for a handshake, for peace, for empathy and compromise. That's how we survive. But it's hard when you're the one bleeding. Every day is a grind. Mornings I wake up, check job boards, Indeed, LinkedIn, tweak my resume, send it out, hear nothing. Afternoons, maybe a church event, but I'm the odd man out, the single guy in a sea of families. Evenings, the TV blares to drown out the silence, but sometimes the tears come anyway, or I'm on my knees praying, begging for a break. I think back to New York streets, buzzing with every kind of person, where nobody cared where you came from, if you showed up and worked hard. My dad's shadow looms large, his control, his need to keep me small. It's like the South's closed gates, both wounding me, keeping me down. But I've grown, faced Jung's shadow, built resilience. I've been writing since I was 7, fueled by philosophy, economics, ideas that keep my mind alive. As an extrovert, I need people. Isolation triggers my depression, throws me off balance. I crave that harmony, home life, social life, connection. Here's the raw, unfiltered truth. This fucking sucks. I've cried oceans, questioned God, felt like giving up. But there's a flicker of hope for a job that sees my worth, for a woman who gets me, for a place to belong. Maybe sharing this cracks open those invisible walls for someone else. I'm still fighting, heart on my sleeve, and if this rambles, it's just me laid bare.